Hi class. I'm recording on a Saturday afternoon, a hot Saturday afternoon. I believe this may be the hottest weather we've had so far. I've been outside actually watering my garden, hoping to keep my plants happy because we haven't had rain for a few days now, maybe almost a week. So everything is getting a little bit dry. I hope you're having a good weekend, whatever you're doing. I'm recording sessions today for May the 20th, which will be next Tuesday. So this is part one for next Tuesday. And I'm going to begin right where we left off last time with discussion of the story Butterflies. I really do hope that you have had a chance to read the story more than once even. You read it with me, I hope. And then sometimes we have to read something 2 or 3 times to see all of the layers of the meaning. Now remember, we said that this is a memoir. Memoir simply means a memory. It's just a different term meaning basically the same thing. And in this memoir, the writer really tells just one very focused story from his life. I think that I shared with you that he has written quite a few stories, short stories, about his life in the various orphanages that he lived in after about the age of 4. So you might be interested in reading some of his other stories, his other memoirs about the orphanage. But this one has one very focused incident or story that he wants to tell, and that he does tell, I think, in a very meaningful way. I was down to paragraph 6, so if you'll count down to 6 with me. And basically I'm just sort of taking the paragraphs apart a little bit and just making some comments about what I see in each of these paragraphs. The beauty of us being in class together is that I could hear what you see as well, because you may see things that I don't. In his writing, you may notice certain aspects of his writing, or you may have thoughts related to this that I would love for you to be able to share. And so I'm so sorry that we can't do that. Paragraph 6 occurs immediately after he saw the house parent so very cruelly kill the butterfly and put it on the cardboard. And so what happens here is the telephone inside the dormitory rings, and the house parent hears it and goes in to answer. And as he went in, he just simply laid the cardboard down on the steps outside. And so Roger Kaiser, probably like many young boys, was curious, went over to take a look, and he saw that the butterfly that had just been pinned was not completely dead. It was fluttering. It was trying to be free. He reached down and he touched it, and one of the pins came out, and so that butterfly started just kind of buzzing, flying around, but he couldn't get any lift because of his injury. The other pin caused one of the wings then to break, and that poor butterfly was just struggling. And Roger stood and watched that and was very distressed, I think. In the next paragraph, he says he picked up that torn wing and he picked up the butterfly and he thought, if I could just put it back together. Um, Children often are that way, right? Something um, that breaks and they become very sad about, and they think, oh, if I could just put it back together. But there are some things that can't be put back together, and children, that's one way children learn life lessons, is that not everything can be saved or fixed as much as you wish that it could. In this case, Roger tried spitting. Spat is the past tense of spit. He tried spitting on the wing and then sticking that wing to the other part of the wing, doing his best to allow that butterfly to be able to fly and be free. But the house parent had finished the phone conversation and was coming back, right? And witnessed what Roger was doing. Now, I think in both of these paragraphs, we see this huge desire on Roger's part for this butterfly to be able to break free of the situation. And that, in a way, is an illustration. In a way, it is a metaphor for Roger Kaiser's life at that point in time. I think that he felt somewhat like that butterfly. He felt pinned to a place that he didn't choose. He felt forced into this situation. And in a sense, his wings were broken, weren't they? He couldn't fly and be free like a normal child could have been. So I think there's a real metaphor here happening between the life of this butterfly and the life of Roger Kaiser. And it makes Roger's desire only greater to save the butterfly, to give that butterfly what it deserved, and that was freedom. Next paragraph, the house parent comes walking back and sees what's going on and starts yelling. Immediately, the house parent is defensive. When someone is defensive, it means that they probably know that they've done something wrong and they've been caught, and they want to defend their action, as if to say, you know, what I did is fine and you're the problem and get out of here. So this house parent comes out and defends this action, starts to yell at Roger, and Roger does what most children did and says, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't do anything wrong. Even if he had been trying to fix the butterfly and touched the man's things, he's still going to say, I didn't do anything wrong, because that's what children do, right? But the house parent didn't believe him, of course. And the house parent was so angry, had such a, what we call a low threshold, T-H-R-E-S-H, threshold for anger. It means that he didn't have much ability to contain his anger. His anger came out immediately. And he took the cardboard and he started hitting Roger over the head with the cardboard, most likely saying very unkind words to him. And of course, when he did that, the butterflies that were already on the board, the dried butterflies that had been there for a long time, began to break apart, and all of these pieces of these dead butterflies just began to fall off the board. And then he threw that piece of cardboard down on the ground and then told Roger to pick it up and put it in the garbage can. And then he stormed back off into the dormitory, I presume, or somewhere else, and left that situation in Roger's hands. So Roger had to clean up the mess. And in the next paragraph, he says he sat in the dirt by the big old tree for the longest time. When someone says that they do something for the longest time, it usually gives us a hint that they really felt that passage of time. To him, it seemed like a really long time of just being sad. He kept trying to put these pieces together because he wanted to bury the butterflies as whole butterflies, not little pieces. But of course it was too difficult to do. It would be difficult for anyone to do. So he said he prayed for the butterflies. And then he put them in an old shoebox and he buried them out near some bamboo bushes and some blackberry bushes, where he had his own secret fort. Now, I would love to know more about the fort, and I suspect that maybe it is mentioned in some of the other stories, some of the other memoirs that are written. But I can only imagine that that fort represented freedom, that it might have been a place where he could sneak away and not be noticed for a little while, be alone with his thoughts, and that he could, for just a period of time, maybe forget that he was trapped in an orphanage. So I think it makes sense that he would bury these butterflies at the fort where he could protect their memory instead of throwing them in the garbage or something else. This was a way that he could stay connected to these butterflies. The closing paragraph, the conclusion of this memoir, I think is very, very good. I think that the shortness of it, but the word choice that he used, the very select words, tie this memoir up beautifully. They bring it to a close in a way that leaves the reader thinking. I'm going to read it one more time. You read along with me. Every year, when the butterflies would return to the orphanage and try to land on me, I would try and shoo them away, because they did not know that the orphanage was a bad place to live and a very bad place to die. I can just see this child, this little boy, knowing that, oh, it's springtime again. The azaleas are blooming. The butterflies will be around very soon. And I can see him watching for those butterflies because he wanted to save their lives. And if he could just be there quickly before this mean house parent was around, he could keep those butterflies moving freely. He could give them that message. Keep going. Don't stay here. This is a bad place to live and a very bad place to die. I have to wonder also if the story of the butterflies, if this incident, an incident is another word for an event that happens, if this incident caused this child to think about and perhaps worry about his own death. If this house parent could be so cruel, could he be that cruel to a child also? Children don't have the capacity that we adults have, do they? To think things out in a way that is a little more rational, we say. When something is rational, it makes sense. We can kind of work it out in our minds. And children don't necessarily have that ability. They can become fearful, obviously, much more easily because they don't understand everything going on in certain situations. So in my own thinking about this story, I wonder if the killing of the butterflies gave him fear even about his own life. He certainly knew that he didn't have freedom, right? He felt that. He knew something was not normal here. And he may have also feared that he could be harmed or even killed. I do know from reading a little bit more about his life that he did endure beatings. He endured being locked away in certain rooms. He endured being deprived of meals sometimes, or special opportunities or treats that the house parents would withhold, keep away from those children, things that maybe the other children got to do, and sometimes only for the smallest infraction. An infraction is a breaking of a rule. So it might not have been a big thing, but if a house parent was in a bad mood, they would use that as a way to deprive the child from getting to have some special advantage or some special opportunities. All right, I'm going to pause, and when we come back, we're going to do a little bit of an analysis. We're going to analyze this just a tiny bit more so that you can see sort of the process of helping yourself in understanding memoir, or perhaps helping your child as your child reads memoir type writing. Sometimes it's good to break apart, and that's kind of what I've already done, paragraph by paragraph. Now we're just going to think about it as a whole. So I will be right back with that.